Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're doing just what the name says.
Taking a plunge.
Exactly. We're looking closely at the ideas in this Audible audiobook, Persuasion Power, Master the Brain-Based Techniques for Effective Communication. It's by Peter H. Herbert.
Right. And our main source material here is basically the Amazon product page for it.
Yep. So think of this as, your quick guide, your shortcut.
Definitely. To the core ideas of it's over a 5-hour audiobook. 5 hours and 8 minutes, I think.
Wow, yeah. That's a chunk of time.
It is. So our mission really is to pull out the key insights about how our brains actually work when it comes to persuasion.
Giving you those actionable takeaways without needing to listen to the whole thing.
Precisely. We know you want to get the valuable info efficiently.
Absolutely. We know you're looking to get smart fast. That's what we do here. So let's just jump right in.
Let's do it.
What's the core promise of persuasion power? Like, what's the main takeaway meant to be?
Well, the title's a big hint, obviously. But the description really spells it out. It's about mixing neuroscience, brain science,
Right.
with actual persuasion strategies. The idea is to get better at connecting, influencing, even leading people.
By understanding the brain side of things?
Exactly. It's not just what you say, but thinking about how our brains are actually set up to, react to it. How we process information, how we make decisions.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. If you know how someone's likely to process something, you can communicate better.
It gives you an edge, yeah.
Okay, so who is this book actually for? Sounds like it could be useful for quite a few people.
Yeah, the description paints a pretty broad picture. It does mention professional speakers,
Yeah?
business leaders. You'd kind of expect that.
Sure, the obvious ones.
But then it also says anyone looking to improve their everyday conversations.
Oh, interesting. So not just for big presentations or sales pitches?
No, and that feels key. It suggests these brain-based ideas aren't just for high-stakes stuff. They apply to talking with your colleagues, your family.
Because those involve persuasion, too, in a way.
Absolutely. Connection, influence, it's all woven into our daily interactions.
Okay, so the core ideas are meant to be pretty universal. Let's dig into some of these brain-based techniques then. What kind of brain functions are we actually talking about here?
The page highlights a few really interesting angles. First off, it talks about how the brain processes information, makes decisions.
Okay, like cognitive biases and things.
That's likely part of it, yeah. Those mental shortcuts our brains take, like the availability heuristic. We think something's more likely if we can easily remember an example of it.
Ah.
So maybe the audiobook talks about framing your message so your key points are, really memorable, easy for the listener's brain to grab onto.
Huh, that's clever. So you're working with how the brain naturally operates.
Exactly. Tailoring the message. What else?
What else does it cover?
Another big one is techniques for instantly building trust, rapport, and credibility.
Instantly.
That sounds ambitious.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But think about first impressions. How quickly we size someone up.
True. Sometimes it's just a feeling.
Right. And research suggests that's heavily influenced by nonverbal stuff, even tiny physiological responses in the brain. So the book probably gets into how you consciously send out signals.
Signals?
Yeah, signals that trigger those positive responses, that foster trust right from the get-go.
So practical things like what?
Could be things like mirroring body language subtly, or the impact of showing genuine empathy in your tone. It's not about being fake, but tapping into those sort of built-in social processors we all have.
Interesting. Okay, the description also mentions brain-based strategies for ethical motivation, inspiration, and persuasion. What's the brain-based part add there?
Well, when you're trying to motivate someone, you're often tapping into their values, right? Their goals.
Yeah. From a brain perspective, this could mean activating reward pathways, creating that feeling of positive anticipation.
Ah, okay.
So understanding how the brain handles emotions and links them to motivation could help you frame your message so it genuinely resonates with what drives that person, ethically, of course.
Right, the ethical part seems important. It's about alignment, not trickery.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What about the more concrete communication tools, like storytelling?
Yeah, it mentions storytelling, emotional appeal, nonverbal cues. How do those fit the brain angle?
Well, these are fundamental, right? And neuroscience helps explain why they're so powerful. Storytelling, for instance. It can literally immerse the listener.
Right.
It activates multiple brain areas, makes information stickier, more engaging.
And emotions.
Emotional appeals go straight for our emotional centers in the brain. That drives attention, drives action, and nonverbal cues, posture, expressions, they're processed super fast, often before we even consciously register the words.
So the book likely explains how to use these tools, knowing how the brain will react.
Precisely. It seems to bridge that gap between, classic communication advice and the underlying science.
Okay, and how's it all presented? Is it going to be dense neuroscience or usable?
The description uses phrases like real-world examples and easy-to-implement techniques.
Ah, good.
That suggests it's aiming for practicality, focusing on how you, the listener, can actually apply these ideas day to day. Probably avoids getting too bogged down in technical jargon.
Actionable strategies. That's what people want.
Seems like it.
And the overall goal, what should someone expect to get out of this?
The description puts it pretty clearly. To help people speak so people listen and act.
Listen and act. That's the key difference.
Yeah. It's not just about being heard. It's about really connecting, making the message land, and inspiring some kind of action, whether that's agreement, a decision, or just, remembering what you said.
Got it. Okay, let's quickly cover the nuts and bolts. Author is Peter H. Herbert, narrator B. Fike, publisher Megan Ruth.
Right. And it's an Audible release scheduled for May 13th, 2025. So quite new.
Very new. It's interesting we're diving into something right as it launches.
It is, but the early signals, at least on Amazon, seem pretty strong, looking at the rankings.
Yeah. What are they saying?
It's listed as the #1 new release in mentoring and coaching.
Wow, #1 new release.
Okay.
And it's also ranking well overall in that category, #7. Plus, #9 in leadership training and #13 in running meetings and presentations.
So Amazon's algorithm thinks it fits well in those practical professional development spaces.
Seems that way. It gives you a sense of its perceived relevance right out of the gate.
And just to remind you listening, it is an Audible audiobook, 5 hours, 8 minutes long.
Right. And the page mentions the standard Audible free trial offer, too.
Good point. What about buying it?
2 options listed. You can get it with the Audible trial, which then becomes like $14.95 a month, or a one-time purchase for $17.46.
Which they say is a 12% discount off the list price.
Yeah, list price of $19.95. So some options there. Okay. And one last detail, probably because it's so new, there are no customer reviews up yet.
Correct. As of when we looked, 0 reviews. So something to bear in mind if you rely on those.
Definitely. We're working purely off the publisher's description and the Amazon data for this deep dive.
Which is still quite informative.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. Summing up our look at the Persuasion Power product page.
Right.
The core idea seems to be boosting your communication skills by getting smart about the neuroscience behind persuasion.
Yeah, applying brain science. It promises techniques to build trust faster, motivate ethically.
Master storytelling,
Yeah.
nonverbal cues, all that good stuff.
With the ultimate aim of making sure people don't just hear you, but they actually listen and potentially act.
Making your words count.
Exactly. So hopefully this quick exploration has given you a really solid overview of what the audiobook is about.
Saved you 5 hours, maybe.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
While still giving you the essence of its message and potential value.
Right. And maybe it sparks some curiosity. Which leads to our final thought for you to ponder. Given this blend of brain science and, communication strategies, what do you find most surprising or intriguing about how our own brains influence our ability to persuade and connect with others?
That's a good question. How much is automatic versus learned?
Yeah, or maybe which brain bias is most powerful in conversations. Lots to think about there. Definitely a fascinating area to explore further.